Alright, it's 9 o'clock.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Convene as a Walworth County Planning and Zoning Board. Is there any old business? New business?
Hearing none, I move for adjournment.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second. And a second. Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. I'd like to convene as a Walworth Board of Zoning Adjustment. Is there any old business? New business?
Hearing none, I move for adjournment.
I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
Second.
I got a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. I'd like to convene as a Board of County Commissioners. I'd take a motion to approval of the agenda. Yes.
22 and 21 were not supposed to be on this agenda.
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'd take a motion to approve.
So moved.
They got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
Second.
Got a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Linda.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to address the board. One of the concerns I have is the official Walworth County website is still not up to date. I did bring it up at a meeting several weeks ago, and the auditor said it was her responsibility to do this, and I feel it's been ample time given to have that brought up to date, and it still isn't. And it's not a very good reflection of the county when someone goes on the website to look up who to contact, and the person that's listed is no longer employed with the county and hasn't been for quite some time. And my next thing would be the executive sessions. It seems like every meeting we have an executive session. Is there something going on in the county with our personnel that we have to have an executive session at every meeting? And when you come out of executive session, no action is ever taken on what's been discussed. County business is supposed to be discussed in the open and not in executive session, if that's what's going on.
There are things that don't need to be discussed with personnel and stuff like that won't come out.
No,
Unless
personnel and legal matters are to be discussed
I know.
in executive session, but
exactly
other
what that
business
is.
is not. I don't know if that's what's going on, I'm just saying that we seem to be having an awful lot of executive sessions.
Okay, you can move on.
And according to codified law 7-21-8, the provisional budget was to be published for 2 consecutive weeks in the paper, and that was not done. So that's a
Was not
violation of
done, right.
codified law. Pardon?
As far as I know, it was done.
It was in the Selby Record 1 week.
There was a reason for that because she didn't put it in there. So, you need to check on the facts first.
I have checked on the facts. She,
Yes, Becky.
The provisional budget was sent to her by her deadline listed in her paper, and she chose not to put it in. And there's Jamie, is that correct?
Pardon?
You were involved in those emails?
Yeah, there was some concern. She got it, I guess, before her deadline, but said she didn't have time to put it in since it came in right at her deadline.
And legislative is aware of it.
it may have came in before the deadline, but it was very close to the deadline And,
There's still a deadline.
okay. And the deadlines apply to everything, not just to the newspaper lady. It applies to the Board of County Commissioners also. And on the claims list today, there's a claim under the Veteran Service Officer for Casey Eisman for parts for a spray truck. What does that have to do with the Veteran Service Officer?
And we'll discuss it when we get there.
Okay, well, I need
It
to
doesn't,
bring-
it was on, it's put in under the wrong budget. It should be under weeds, and it will be changed.
And again, I'll reiterate, when I'm addressing the chairperson, that's the only person that's supposed to be speaking unless they ask for permission to speak.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll go to 14, consider motion to approve county commission minutes of August 20th. Has everybody had a chance to go over them? If so, I take a motion.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Has everybody else had a chance to go over the claims?
Did make that one change.
Okay.
Those, parts for spray truck to weed department.
Alrighty. Anything else? Yes.
Jamie, are we supposed to be paying this West Payment Center? Okay, so we'll need that one removed.
Which one's that?
It's West Payment Center, it's under courts on the first page.
Which one, how much is that for?
It's $2,212.86.
Yeah, that, our obligation to them ended May 31st, and they keep sending us a bill for June. And that, didn't you get a overdue bill? But I've called them and said, we ended our subscription in writing as of 31st of May. They're still continuing to bill us, so it's not our bill. The little bills for like 100 or 200 are for actual volumes, but the West Publishing is done. We use LexisNexis now.
Anything else?
So that would be that $2,191 or $92 that comes up? Just that one?
The library plan changes, we don't pay that either then.
And what?
Library plan changes,
$19.96.
What is that for, do you know?
I think it's just changes that they make monthly, updating their.
The volumes? Yeah, we pay for that. We still
Okay.
have the volumes.
So-
We just don't pay for the online program.
Okay, I'll need a motion for that,
I shall move.
to take those things out too.
Yeah.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
A second.
Okay, second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Number 16.
Got 4 accounts that are still past due from long ago, one's 2017, I think actually they all might be 2017. I have contacted, one, built by Wiley, he's supposedly sending me money. I haven't been able to contact Pop. I have been in contact with Connect, and First Choice, I have not been able to track him down yet. Sounds good, I'll take it.
I think I did try.
I do have a check out there right now that we received from Standing Rock today of 20,000. Do you have any other questions about it?
It's a lot better than it did a year ago.
Took in a lot of money this last month. I'd like to get those other accounts cleared up.
Alright. Anybody else have anything on the reports? Pat?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Thank you again for letting me come in here. All I know is on the tipping fees, there's questions about what we want to do. I think you have some questions for me.
I was under the understanding that this is for the rodeo association, not for a private corporation.
No, it is a private corporation.
And
But I did mention that there was 5 of us that bought that property. And it's, in the beginning, it was bought because we wanted to protect that road to go in there. We wanted to tear down them houses, that's what we wanna do, clean it up and keep it clean. We all know in the long run, this land that we bought is gonna go back to the road. We're all kinda in agreement that that's why we bought it. So we're protecting ground for the rodeo. It's not given back to it yet, but I figured it was a good thing to keep that place cleaned up. We could've let somebody else buy it and put in a couple more trailers and kept it looking bad, so. No, I never said that it was the rodeos.
No. I didn't say that, I misunderstood you,
Okay,
yeah.
so I did mention there was 5 of us that bought it, and it's, yeah, just because the LLC, we bought it just because, so. We figured it was a good thing, you know, something that we can give back to the community. So if that's a problem, I guess it's our own, I mean, it's our own money trying to help out the rodeo association, that's, yeah.
Becky, do you have an issue with you helping them out on that, or?
It's completely up to you guys.
I mean, I can haul this stuff home to my place and burn it. I mean, I'd really rather not, but,
I feel we're helping Mobridge out on a case-by-case basis. This would be just like that, where it's part of the cleanup, and I don't have a problem with somebody cleaning up a property.
Well, we help the police department too, and their cleanup.
I just feel this is a bad precedent to start helping other corporations. Now, for the rodeo association, I'd be behind it 100%, but being this is a private corporation that owns that, and there's no guarantee down the road, things change, that it's never gonna go to the rodeo association, so.
So what would be the difference between this and helping out the Mobridge Police Department with the property?
There's quite a bit of difference.
Private property.
That's the Mobridge Police Department we made that deal with, not a private corporation.
So private property.
It's not a private corporation. There's a lot of them, and once we set a precedent, I just feel this is a bad thing to do, and I'm only one vote, so.
Well, we voted once on it.
I mean, it'd save me money or save us money by taking it to my place and burning it, I guess. If it's that big of a problem, you know.
Like I say, I don't have any problem helping the rodeo association, but a private corporation. I just have
Your intent is to give it to the roads.
What's that?
Your intent is
That
to give it
is,
to the
that
roads.
was the intent, that was, you know, but it hasn't been done, you know.
But it will be.
I've donated thousands of dollars to this place already, and I'm planning on giving thousands more, so.
I guess it's helping the city of Mobridge, period, I would think.
Let's
No,
vote
I-
on it again.
You want something, Josh?
Well, it's actually county, is it not?
County? Yeah.
Depending on how you look at it, because Mobridge wants everything within 3 miles of the city limits anyways, so technically it does fall under their jurisdiction.
Well, we're not gonna sit here all day, what do you guys
I
want
would
to do?
move to rescind the motion.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second. I need a second. Ask one more time, I need a second. Motion failed.
So you still get your half off signatures.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
Nobody has to wait till me.
Okay, we gotta wait till 9:30 on that, but since Byerly's not here. Josh disappeared.
There he is.
Justin, is Justin around? Gary's not here, and we gotta wait till 9:30 on the hearing.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All that work.
I think we got enough coming around.
Yes.
Did you pull all of that? Did you pull all of that?
Crawl under and get it. I may not get back up, but I'll crawl under.
Nothing's gonna be my problem.
Okay, first item on the agenda is Jessica Giddets, 50-cent increase for completion of probation. Asking for a motion on that.
I'll need a motion for that.
And so,
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second that.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that? She turned something down back before.
I don't know if it's your,
It's his radio.
maybe it's your video.
Sorry.
Any more discussion on that?
I guess we've done these in the past with the wage increases and stuff, and what probationary period are they filling out?
The required 3 months that the county requires.
This
3
is
months
just
of employment,
Training deal?
correct. So it's for their first 3 months, they've completed that.
we do that with any other departments?
Does the highway, yeah, highway, that's it.
Okay.
What's he getting now? What's he getting in now?
She,
She,
I'd have to look that up for sure.
15 right now. That's what they start at.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed.
Next bullet item is just an FYI to you. Deputy Sheriff candidate, an offer has been extended out and accepted. The individual starts September 16th. That individual is Carly Stahl. She's originally from Oneida area. She's worked for Pure PD for 2 years. The next one is an FYI item. Minimum repairs to the 2016 Chevy Silverado that we discussed have been made and completed. Do we still have an idea what we're doing with that pickup?
Yeah, I guess we were gonna talk about it today to see who did the landfill, did they want it, or
We're not sure yet about that.
I guess it probably doesn't have to be done at this instant. Did you
Well,
have-
they're gonna need it until
They're
the
gonna need
year
it.
anyways, so if we have time.
Well, let's just put it this way, I think it should go somewhere inside the house.
Are you guys using it now?
It must be, I
We
think
have,
it's,
yeah.
I think I saw.
I had to use it to go check some section line stuff.
I'm sure I seen it leave town one day, so, look,
Yes.
Are you in the process of replacing
I
it now?
had to use it, my car was down getting repaired, so I used it that day.
Are you in the process of getting it replaced now?
I'm looking, because that's what we discussed, but nothing's been done.
I guess, I would think, we'll figure it out down the line here, we'll go somewhere. I know Deb talked about it, and Becky, and we'll figure something out, I would say.
Okay. Next item on the list is, I put it on the agenda again, the discussion and asking for a motion to increase part-time deputy sheriff Don Connect from 1752 to 1880. 1880 is where my deputy sheriff started at. Right now, if they're licensed and certified, I would like to get him up to that. Don's got experience. He was chief of police in the city of Selby for a few years, before he left and the city department was dissolved. I've been using him on a part-time basis to help out. He does the same functions, there's nothing different that he doesn't do. He has the same powers as any of the deputies or myself do. So I'm asking for the commission to consider that again and look at that. I know that we did that with the highway department. We brought one of the part-time guys up to where the other individual's at. So I'm asking the commission to consider that, please.
I would so move.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I'll need a second.
I will second that.
Got a second, any more discussion on that?
He does not get any benefits, right?
No, he doesn't.
It seems like the last time we talked about this, it was, again, we're trying to control some expenses here, but I'm trying to figure out how a part-time deputy would be getting the same hourly rate as a full-time deputy.
They're doing the same job. They're not doing anything different. It's just, there's no benefits with it, Mr. Schlomer, so, it's the straight wage, non-benefited position. Does the same job, the exact same job as we do. civil process, warrants, the patrol function, taking calls, also assistance calls. I'll call them out if we need extra manpower for certain things to go to a call, things of that nature. So he's doing the same job as we are.
You'd think that a deputy sheriff would be a little miffed if he's getting the same wage as a part-time, I guess. It seems like it wouldn't, the guys wouldn't like it, I would think. Somebody part-time is getting their wage.
I guess I haven't run into that, Scott. I guess talking with other staff, they know, we did the same thing in the jail. The jail staff make the same, starting out the part-timers do, as other jail staff do. They do the same thing over there. They get the same increases, but it's a non-benefited position. They're expected to do the same job as the other ones.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion passed.
I was contacted about, I talked with Kevin a little bit. This is more or less just per our discussion, Kevin, and what you contacted me for, I know Sioux County number. Have you started contacting counties already, or?
I have, the only one, I'm waiting on text now from 4 other ones. They was gonna decide what day they wanted to do it and let me know. Everybody's meeting today, so
Right.
there's only one that's set up right now, and that's up in McPherson County on the 23rd. And that's gonna be at 7 o'clock at night. I will not be able to attend that one. Marion's gonna do that one. I didn't know if you wanted to go along with that one or not. They wanted to do it at a nighttime deal, and Monday night's the only night that I can do it. But I won't be back by the 23rd, so.
You wanna ride in the patrol car, or you want me to ride with you?
Depends on which seat you sit in.
What's that?
Depends on which seat you sit in.
Yeah. I can sit and pick him
Didn't mean it. Hello. But you said the 23rd, Kevin?
Yeah.
At 7? Okay.
The other ones are supposed to be letting me know, trying to, they're all gonna be special meetings, so.
Right. And we discussed that before, so kind of do that kind of.
Sioux County's the only one I haven't got a hold of yet. The rest of them are supposed to be letting me know today during their meetings.
All right. The only other thing that I have on here is the employee resolution, excuse me. That was done up and given to the auditor. This is for January. Basically, the administrative secretary would be going full-time. And that would also have the new wage increase of the 1880 starting and whatnot in there for compensation of deputies. Jail has not changed too much, but we talked about this and Kevin brought up the resolution. So we did one for January, as that's what was discussed. I'm here to play ball with you guys, so I'm not here to rant and rave over what we've done in the past, because that's exactly what it is, it's past. But if we're gonna do this, then this is how we need to do it. So pointed out by the state's attorney, so that's what I did.
I just wanted to point out that the wages you have on there don't include the 53-cent increase that was approved.
Oh. Thank you. You're correct, we did not have that. I wanted to. I guess I wasn't sure if that was a for sure or because it started here, went back, but it moved around a little bit. But And Justin's up here now, did you have anything for him? He was downstairs taking care of some stuff, so couldn't be up there right away.
Anybody have anything for Justin?
I got one for Justin. On the bills, why is Ensure a over-the-counter medication?
Why is it what?
Ensure, that
Oh, the-
energy drink that you get, why is that a over-the-counter medication?
It's supplies that we buy for inside when Carol thinks they need a little extra for the diabetics. that we
It's
give
got the
that.
vitamins and stuff
We
in
give
it,
that to them.
that's a supplemental drink, we don't buy it a lot, but some of the diabetics and some other individuals in jail require that. That's something that is asked for by the nurse and we purchase that. We don't buy a lot of it, but that's what it's for.
That's just how we maintain that sugar stuff.
Seems pretty pricey energy drink for just to go to jail. And is that another excuse that they go to jail for, is get more energy drinks or?
I haven't had that request, I guess, for anybody to go to jail for that, but I just follow the recommendations by the nurse. That way we don't get our butt in a sling, I guess, but.
When these people are arrested, we obviously don't know their history or their background. We try to ascertain the most that we can when they're looking at them. That a nurse sees these individuals, if they have issues, or we give her a heads up, she's able to look at those. Anybody that comes in with anything medical related, she looks at and make sure that we're following the rules, so we don't get into trouble. So I mean, if the nurse recommends that, I'm not gonna dispute that.
I believe the last time it was purchased was also for ones that were not able to eat, their jaw was wired shut. So they were able to drink that to maintain some calorie intake.
I get what you're saying, I understand.
I mean, for $11 a pop, seems a little ridiculous to me.
It's expensive, I think that's a pack of 4 or 6, I don't remember exactly. But yeah, they're not cheap.
Coming forth, I believe.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they're not cheap.
I mean, one bottle blows your whole daily
Yeah.
meal cost.
I know. But I based it off our recommendation, and I'm not gonna, I can't change that, I'm not a doctor.
I just find it hard to believe that people are going to jail.
I'm just glad we don't have to purchase more of it than what we do. It's been, like I said, a few times, it hasn't happened, hurt a lot, but it is expensive. I agree with you.
Laxatives and everything else, and enema, and
It's ridiculous, but unfortunately, they don't have a choice.
Okay, does anybody else have anything else for Justin?
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go back to 17, original budget hearing.
This is based on what was published, I still don't have the numbers from the highway department, so those changes will have to be made when you adopt the annual budget on the 24th.
Well, we still can't go with Gary because he's not here yet.
Mr. Chairman, I have some questions on the provisional budget.
No, everything's supposed to be talked about
It's a hearing.
in the hearing. Okay,
Pardon?
what do you have a question about?
On the back page. There's a cash balance applied. Where are those cash applied numbers? Where do they come from?
What numbers are you talking about?
The cash balance applied numbers, the first line item.
You just want to put everything back here? Best of your knowledge?
She's addressing you.
What do you want me to ask, to answer?
What is that cash applied number? Where does that number come from?
It's in the budget. What?
It's the amount of money that needs to be used to offset the expenses compared to the revenue that's expected for the year.
So the revenue that's coming in isn't going to cover the expenses that we have, and that's the extra money that we need to cover that.
Correct.
And so where does that money come from?
The general fund on that line, the road and bridge fund on that line.
I don't, where actually does that $1 million come from? Where do you get that $1 million?
If you'd like, we can visit about it after the meeting and I can show you some things.
Or is it money left over from the year before, or is it money held in an
Money,
account?
It's money that the county has here.
Is that money that's been assigned, or is it unrestricted?
It
or-
is now being assigned to cash balance applied.
Did it have any restrictions on it before it was assigned to the general fund?
No.
And on the M&P, there's a negative 1,000. How do you come up with a negative number for a cash applied number?
That's the way the state wants me to do it because she's only requesting 6,000 to spend and she's bringing in 7.
So should you have a negative cash applied number?
Yes. According to Department of Revenue.
Okay. And do you have a computer generated report for July of the current fund balances?
Yes.
The ones that are restricted or unrestricted or unassigned, they have all those listed on there.
We have your fund cash balance report available.
Did I get a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay. My other question is, in 2019, there wasn't the money in the budget to do a raise, and now this year we're giving it 3%, which is broke down to the 53 cents per employee. So where did the extra money come from to do the raise if our cash applied number is over $1 million? Mr. Chairman.
It's just what we felt we needed to do. We'll have to figure out how to get the money. Anybody knows that it's not real good, but
Well, if the money's not there, how can we give a raise? We don't have the funds.
we'll more likely find it.
you're gonna change the mill levy, so it's set to a certain amount like you paid. Isn't that where the revenue figure comes from on your provisional budget? Line 2 is the current property tax levy. On that same page, right underneath the cash applied number. Isn't that the amount of money that comes in from the tax levy? Is that figured for 2020 in this provisional budget? Mr. Shank,
Like I said, we'll find it.
so you're not gonna answer my question then?
That's what I'm gonna answer. That's better.
The amount of taxes that we're going to collect is based on growth plus CPI. The growth was not certified until Friday. So I had figured in there what was sent to the state, and I believe they did certify what was exactly sent. So those numbers do include the growth plus CPI.
So this is the amount that will be available.
Well, the utilities have to be entered yet. So it may change barely, but I didn't get it until Friday.
So when will this, budget for each department be completed to be able to see that before the next meeting? And I asked the auditor this morning and she said that they're not ready yet and that each department head has not seen them.
That's better.
Because we still don't have the highways yet. And other things haven't completely been decided, like if you're gonna let the administrative secretary go full-time in the sheriff's department. A lot of decisions need to be made before I'm not gonna give out approved, not approved budgets.
So, Mr. Chairman, will those decisions be made today?
They won't be made today.
They won't be?
Well, they're not on the agenda to be.
So you're gonna do them at the next meeting when you approve the final budget?
It'll have to be.
So will that be available before the meeting or at the meeting?
Well, it'll be available for sure at the meeting.
But nobody will have a chance to look at it before the meeting is held.
That day, Rick, the day before, 12 hours.
The day before, you can come in and get a copy of it.
Right.
That hasn't been done in the past, it appears at the meetings and it's not available the day before.
Well, it'll be available after 9 o'clock.
After 9 o'clock on the Monday before the meeting, it will be available. All the paperwork that's handed to the commissioners is
Speaking
available.
about,
If she wants for the budget. What she wants available.
I was going to bring that up in, old business, new business, that you guys probably need to meet before then makes the final decisions. I did.
Well, I did not do that, so. Well, then we'll just discuss it then and do business.
Why isn't it being discussed when we're discussing the budget right now, the provisional budget? My other question is, the commission board has hired our auditor full-time at the landfill. Means it's a full-time position, why aren't half of the benefits coming from the landfill and half of them coming from the county?
We did it right in the meeting, we said that there was no benefits out there.
I know, but you also said that you were hiring her to save the county money. If you really want to save the county money, half the benefits would come out of the landfill, because that's also a full-time position.
Depends on what you're calling a benefit though, I mean, because in like the official, they don't have like vacation.
Health benefits, health insurance, life insurance, vision insurance, dental insurance, health savings account, those are all benefits, and they're all coming out of the county taxpayer dollars for the auditor. Now also the full-time at the landfill, so why aren't half of them coming from the landfill? It's two full-time positions.
Cause that's just how we set it up, we set it right in the meeting how we wanted to do it.
So don't you think it would save the county money if half of it would come from the landfill?
It probably could,
would that be something you would consider?
We could look into it, I guess, and see if it would benefit that much. Like I said, that's the reason why we did it, we just set it up that way.
The reason why you did it,
How we did it, we just set it up that way. That's what we all agreed on. Yes, Kevin?
I don't think that we can possibly do that, because it'd be, we're only gonna have half the hours in, so technically we wouldn't have enough hours to qualify for full-time. But anyway, we made the decision, so
Yeah.
it's already done and over with.
okay, my question is, half the hours, it's a full-time position, so if it's a full-time position, it would qualify for full-time benefits, and then it would be half for county and half for the landfill. So if you're saying it's only not enough hours to be full-time position, then why is it classified as a full-time position?
Well, I don't quite think that's how he meant it, but it is, it's just what we did, we chose it to be no benefits coming from that.
Well, I know when you appointed her as the full-time supervisor out there, it was for 2019, now this is a 2020 budget. I would think that would be something you could consider for the 2020 budget, as far as saving the taxpayers some money. You're trying to find ways to save money for the county, this would be one way. The money would come out of the landfill fund, not the county fund. So can Mr. Holgard explain his part-time hours or not enough hours to be full-time to get benefits?
It is full-time. Normally, you pay your benefits of a certain amount of scheduled hours for people clocking in and clocking out.
So the landfill supervisor as a full-time position doesn't have the same requirements as other
No.
full-time positions?
No,
And why is that?
it's a salaried position. Salaried positions do not require to be clocked in and out.
So the landfill supervisor before never had to clock in?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else with that?
Well, we could.
You guys wanted to, we're gonna have a special meeting to get the budget all,
I was gonna ask about that. We have a next regular meeting is the 17th, right?
24th,
yeah, 'cause we've got a peer.
17th is convention.
So it's not till
I
24th.
thought it was the 9th and 10th for convention.
No,
Mhm.
16th,
Good thing.
16th and 17th.
And your
You're
rooms are
right.
listed under Walworth County. Okay.
Okay. What's that?
Your rooms are listed under Walworth County, we'll go to check in.
So you wanna have a meeting beforehand, before the 24th? Do you wanna just leave the day before on the 23rd, or?
I will not be here from the 18th and get back real early in the morning on the 24th.
So what's the rest of the commission feel that we need to move work best? No, Monday.
Starts at 16.
Yes.
Any day works for me. Whatever works for you guys works fine for me.
If Kevin isn't gonna be here, we can just do it anytime. You wanna just do it on the, Becky?
What about the 13th if Kevin's not gonna be here, starting the 18th?
Any day works for me.
What time do you guys wanna do it?
Just do it early at 9 o'clock or whatever,
Okay.
on the 13th.
13th.
Well, the only problem there is you're off on Fridays, right, Gary? Will that work for you?
All right, we'll do it on the 13th. All right, Gary.
I'm gonna circulate the ad for part-time employees. And I'm gonna circulate a call for quotes. It's targeted at any company in Walworth County that has an excavator. That would be for the the Pony Truss Bridge structure removal west of Acasta.
Does this say we're gonna keep all the material out of there?
Salvage will be neatly placed for the pickup by Walworth County Forces, immediate following removal at or near the site, and location that will allow access. We're keeping it.
They're keeping it.
As long as we're talking about it, we'll do that first, if there's no objections. The Corps of Engineers has granted permission for us to remove it, as long as no fill material is gonna be placed into the creek. It's all spelled out on the conditions. That's an extreme luxury to have the Corps of Engineers grant us permission to get it out. They don't want it there falling in and dilapidated. It's a good deal. I contacted the SHPO people. That is the State Historical Preservation, I believe it's organization. The bridge structure was classified as historical. However, there was never a resolution that placed it on the list. So, in a sense, it does have historical value, but as far as they're concerned, it's fallen in the creek, get it out. I attempted to ask the Game Fish and Parks to see if they'd be interested in that structure for any infrastructure, walking paths, things like that. They denied any interest. So as of now, as worded, it's called for quotes because it's not formally bid because of the value of removal. Simply give me your lump sum price for getting this thing out of the creek. I think it's gonna be a reasonable number, I would assume. So, any questions?
So then it's just gonna be put aside and then the county's gonna take care of it?
Neatly stockpiled, and I think there's probably another group that is kind of looking at placing it somewhere on display. That's all I want to say about it, so. Did you get a copy?
Yes.
It holds us harmless for any accidents that may occur during removal. I think it's a straightforward, simple little situation. Questions, comments completion date's expected to be November 5th. I don't need any action from you guys, it's just and I circulated an ad for 2 part-time employees. Did I call it seasonal? I gave all my,
Temporary.
it's my opinion, based on the wordage of the Walworth County Personnel Policy, that seasonal employees aren't entitled to benefits. And I think they can't work for more than 6 months in a fiscal year. I still don't know. There's a lot of other stuff going on that I still don't know if I'm probably gonna advertise for it and see what happens, but it's either gonna be a real fast, come on in, let's see what you can do, or it can be nothing. But at least we're advertising. If you people approve it.
Kinda think we did already, prove you to,
Done deal. I think the last meeting I was supposed to write something up so that process has been completed.
yes, but
Amy, didn't you want it on the agenda though to approve the positions, to create the
Yes.
positions, or?
Yeah, to fund that, well, to create the positions, because right now you don't. You have all your full-time positions filled, right?
Yes.
So he can still advertise, but I would put it on the agenda to create those 2 additional part-time positions for the next meeting.
That's on here.
Oh, is it on here? Then you need to vote on that.
I would so move.
I got a motion on the floor and a second. Any more discussion? Hear none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed.
So he's all good to go.
Gary, I just got one quick question for you. On these quotes, you got it as September 17th
I'm accepting quotes until the 17th.
until the 17th.
You guys won't see them. I will provide them if you ask for them. But like I said, Kevin, this is a simple quote thing.
You can say we don't meet until the 24th if you need us to approve it. Okay.
Any comments on that process, Jamie?
Nope. All good to go.
You're probably aware of a letter that came from the Game Fish and Parks requesting or explaining they felt they overpaid for the Swan Creek project. You're aware of that?
They're aware of the overpayment of.
Yes, Gary.
I have no clue why there 2 checks or 2 invoices were sent. The state is recognizing, some responsibility that we probably shouldn't have written 2 checks. There was a funding agreement in place with the Game Fish and Parks. that had a maximum, contribution limit from the game fish and parks of $330,000. Obviously, by virtue of 2 checks being written, they're somewhere in the ballpark of 500 and something, 570,000. There's it's kind of strange that 300 and it's here, but the first check I think was for 303,000, and the second check was for 262,000. The part that concerns me is that if it was a double billing, why are the values different?
So back in January, we didn't have a highway superintendent, and Justin Henwood contacted me. They wanted me to bill GFMP for the project because it was finalized, and then we had the actual amount that was due. Unaware to GFMP or this Justin that Penny had billed them back in August for what the amount the project was projected to be.
Not projected. Those were exact costs.
Okay, but then it ended up coming in a lot cheaper, so that's why those amounts are off. According to this Justin Henwood, he gave me the total costs, and it ended up being the 200, their half being the 260, and not the 300 that was billed out in August. So that's the that's the amounts that are different. And that was from Justin Henwood, which is the project manager.
Did the Federal Highway Administration administer that project?
That's-
So all the bills for that project went through the Federal Highway Administration?
Yeah, and that's who this is Justin Henwood, is project manager from the Federal Highway Administration.
For somebody that wasn't there, I would, and before I would put a dollar value of reimbursement, I would ask the Federal Highway Administration to concur in the reimbursement value. You follow me? And if there was an overpayment made, if there was an overpayment made, then it should be reimbursed. I talked to the Game Fish and Parks people prior to coming up here and posed the question that, okay, since you've paid in excess of 500,000, and the first check was like 303, 303 would cover their portion of the funding agreement. There'd still be some savings to the Game Fish and Parks. You understand what I'm saying? That we wouldn't total the 2 checks and subtract it by 330. It would be the second check, I'm assuming, is the one that's in question, that value would go back to the Game Fish and Parks. Whereby the Game Fish and Parks only spends $303,000 of a possible 330.
According to the project manager, the correct amount was what was billed to them in January, not in August.
And that number was?
It is. $262,541.68. And I can forward all these emails to your inbox so you can look through them and see what the history was and where they came about.
So there'd be a reimbursement for that 303 then, right?
Yep. That's what,
I would question that amount, Gary, because before that bill was sent out in August, I have emails down there on the computer to Justin that this is the final cost of this project, so therefore I can bill Game Fish and Parks off this final cost. And he said yes. So now we're changing the conversation from August to January.
Yeah, and that is Justin as well.
Yeah,
And I've got the amounts, you know, he emailed me all the
Yeah.
amounts too, so that's why I said I'll forward these to you and you can touch base with him and make sure that. But that, according to him
Because
in
he sh-
January, that is how much he told me
that's
that I
what he
needed to bill
figured
them.
was, okay.
Mhm. Excuse me.
I'm not helping out a whole lot because I don't have a clue of the funding. So if you people are comfortable with the conversations that have just been held, you're gonna need a motion to reimburse. One question, where would that money come from or where was it placed?
Yeah.
It should have just gone into the 201 account.
Well, there's no question that they gotta have reimbursement.
Yeah, and, yeah, I totally agree. The scenario would play out that if a reimbursement comes back to the county for expenses incurred, that would be in a 201 account. The check from Game Fish and Parks would go into 201 account in fiscal year 2018. So now we're in 19, how do we look for, I think we're talking the $300,000 reimbursement? Does that come out of the 2019 budget then, or where does the money come from?
It would probably have to be a supplement. I'll check with the legislative audit on exactly how to go about doing that, because it's such a weird situation, and I'll get back to you on that, so that we do it properly.
There was chaos involved with the county in the last year or so. It's understandable things like this can happen. Here again, you people are gonna take care of this from here on out, and I'm gonna get out of the picture. Your level of comfort ultimately is the outcome of this. So,
Well, when we get that figure exactly what it is, and that's what we will make that motion to pay it back that amount.
So, are you going to try and get that
We'll get that figure.
actual number?
It sounds like Becky's kinda got a handle on it, so.
Yeah, I can,
And whatever that number is, then we'll
yeah,
just put it
I'll
on
get
the meeting for-
confirmations.
and get the exact number, so we can just put it on the, to make a motion on it to pay that amount.
Yep, I will get in contact with them and also legislative audit.
One small item, then we'll move on to a summary of the meeting with Penny. A request permission for Corinne to attend the D-Ware training session September 18th and 19th in Mitchell.
Does anybody have a problem with that?
I don't have a problem with it.
We don't have to have a motion,
You know, as I said.
that's your decision in my mind.
You guys cover the expenses of the motel rooms and things. That's why
Comes out
it's
of
being
your-
brought up.
Comes out of your budget though, right?
Okay?
It would seem to be a good thing.
And Penny came down to the office, Monday of last week, I believe. Kinda looked through some stuff.
You still got that text message? 'Cause I left my cell phone in the.
Yeah.
I'll touch base on, Penny is offering to come back as a seasonal employee. We initially discussed the possibility of a consulting type thing where it would be billed out of consulting services. She's requesting, this is open meeting stuff. She was requesting a $20 an hour wage, but would settle at 17. She would work from 3 to 6 months. The luxury would be, she could get Corrine through this fiscal year and an annual report at the end of the year and a start up on the 2020 season. Any questions so far?
What am I missing?
That's about it.
I guess what I'm gonna ask is, what is Corrine not getting that we'd need, but she's getting help from other counties on? So she's already on the new system where Penny was on the old system.
It's the same thing.
To make any comments, Scott, would be an admission that Corrine would be doing substandard work, but that's not the case. Understand? There's, I presented in the past that with the floodwaters and FEMA stuff that occurred in my absence, and they occurred at a time when there was no highway superintendent, and our FEMA sites and the record keeping is shoddy. Worst case scenario, that with inadequate accounting, it's hard to ask for reimbursements for FEMA work if you have to dig through records and pick and choose. I think this was FEMA, I think that was, it's really ugly. So I commented that I think it's gonna be extremely difficult to get any FEMA reimbursements at all, and because of the accounting. So, experience, for instance, this game fish and parks thing, the experience factor would aid in which check is a valid one, which, you know, things like that, little, could be minor issues, but can have large outcomes, so. My opinion, if Penny comes back as a seasonal employee, we're not advertising for it until that publication goes in the paper. The publication says 2 seasonal employees. It doesn't specify that one of them might be not intended to be corrupt, but covering all the legislative audit conditions. Easy question.
Well, I guess I'll make one. I don't know if it's easy or how it's gonna be, but when we had the flood before, when you said experience, then that's where I'm having a little hard time if that's what you're bringing Penny back in for is because of everything that happened. On the flood, we didn't get anything with FEMA on the first flood we had. So that's where I kind of get it into my brain to what you're exactly talking about when you said experience, because we didn't get anything on the first go around.
Amanda's gone. Amanda could probably answer the question of whether, we're gonna get any this time.
She probably could, but I was talking about the very first flood, I'm not even talking about this one. Just get,
I wouldn't mind talking to Amanda to see where we're at on the state deal. My understanding with Amanda is that, we got all the paperwork ready to go for them, we're just waiting on them to get here. Unless there's a problem with the paperwork, I don't know. But last that she briefed us on it, pretty much all the FEMA stuff paperwork was already done on it. So my question would be, if this would happen, what specific duties would Penny have versus the secretary having now?
Sorting through every time card,
And Green wouldn't be doing that now, or?
on top of all of the other office duties, entering invoices and
to me, 3 to 6 months seems like a long time, just Jamie.
And as Gary was saying, we've already created 2 part-time employees, correct? For seasonal employment. Basically, once we created those, not to exceed 1,000 hours on each, because they're part-time, is that right, Gary?
the personnel policy says 6 months of work,
Okay. If they're at full-time.
per thing.
They're classified as part-time. Once they go over 6 months working full-time, then they would have to be classified. So you could work them 6 months full, at 40 hours a week, and they'd still be classified as part-time. So basically, when you created those 2 positions, was it last meeting? We approved them? Or was it this meeting?
Just now.
Just now.
Okay, so then basically, what he hires them for and what he has them do is kind of under his direction. They're his employees once you funded them, to be honest.
Yes, Becky.
I was just gonna say it's up to 1,040 hours.
Because 28 is full-time, so. So realistically, if you created those 2 positions, and did we set a salary on those or not?
It's not done.
But see, but he does say in there, 2 part-time advertising for labor on the highway department. I mean, I do, unless Gary can correct me, but I think he's talking about 2 different things. Yes, Becky.
The, motion wasn't specified in that way.
But his paperwork he handed out.
I think the motion is gonna
CBO.
control what Erie decides to advertise as, that's kind of up to him.
It's really late in the season to add part-time employees. It could be snowing in a month. That's why I commented that this could happen, or likely might not happen. But it was mud, right, Scott?
Well, it almost looks like you were asking for 2 different things, so.
it was a corrective measure. At the time of putting this together, I was looking at 2 part-time highway department employees with the possibility of Penny's comeback. That would have taken another publication for employment of secretary. If Penny comes back, if you people approve Penny's comeback, it's worded in there as a part-time seasonal employee, job description follows, and does that make any sense? It would cover the legal requirements for a Penny comeback all in one package.
So the 2 part-time seasonal positions that we just approved, you're thinking of using one of those as position for Penny?
If the board would approve Penny's comeback, that would be one of them, Mr. Attorney.
Actually, it's your decision to bring her back. It's your decision to create the 2 positions. Ultimately, it's a highway superintendent's responsibility to determine who fills those 2 positions and what they do.
So the commission has
He can
no
have-
voice in me bringing Penny back?
Just like us hiring any other employee.
Yes, Becky?
I think basically they approved the wage.
Yeah. Exactly
They
right.
created the position and they approved the wage.
Correct. And then it's up to, just like any other employee, we hire them and you guys just approve it, just like anybody else. But it's generally the highway superintendent or the supervisors or the elected officials' responsibility to hire that individual. And they just tell you, okay, I hired Joe Blow to fill this position. Okay. Your job is to create and fund, his job is to fill with whom he believes is appropriate to fill that position as he sees fit. Whether it's a blade operator or a office person or whatever.
But the wage is not where you're thinking it's at. Correct? So we agreed on the wage.
What was the wage?
It was 15 something.
The regular wage,
That's
$15.42.
what it is a part-time.
Have you guys approved the wage already? And then, or we just approved the positions? Just the positions? We haven't set a wage yet, so.
But I mean, that's what the wage, why would it be any different than,
You are correct. That's what the starting wage would generally be then, is what we already established as the starting highway person. That's $15.15, and that's where you're supposed to start.
$15.42.
Or, yeah,
you
15.
get no different than Josh from anybody. It's what it is.
Gary, what's your opinion or feeling as far as personnel with Kareen's feelings with this? I mean, is she comfortable with that, or
Yes.
she would like the help, has no problems with it, or?
She informed me that she wouldn't have a problem with it at all. It was discussed that there's one computer, and when I was there the first time, Penny had a computer and I had a computer. That way, if I needed something, I wasn't bothering Penny. So I'd be looking at, I think it's important that we get another computer anyhow, to have 2 computers. And that would be an internal cost. the consensus, and Penny brought this up, that she didn't want to overwhelm Corrine with information and cause some kind of an overload. With a second computer, she can get into the rural addressing, the 911 stuff is crazy, absolutely crazy. Something that Corrine hasn't done, just small bits of it. There's a lot of 911 stuff that Penny could go to work right away on and get her entered in Trotto and MSAG, and the Director of Equalization's office, I've been working with them. People reference this cell phone tower north of Selby. Request came about the second week into my reemployment, and they gave a latitude and longitude. And it's like, how in the hell do I know where that's at? You know, so you gotta go to the computer, and that isn't even exact science. You can find the lat and hold the number until you get to the lung. And that's how the addressing stuff is going now, that if they've got a technician that's gonna do service on one of the components, which is probably 4 or 5 components, different companies on that tower, they drive to the lat and lung. And like I said, it's crazy. I kind of remembered providing an address for that tower when it was constructed, when I was here the first time. And didn't look and didn't find it. That doesn't make sense, but didn't have time to look to see if it was registered. So I go back out and drive the distance to the approach location and reassign an address. Now the requesting party is saying that's not the address we have on file. And in my mind, I'm thinking, if you had one on file, why are you asking me for a new address? You know, so it's absolutely crazy, and it's gonna get worse. There was a census being taken in Glenham. Another request, we have this lat and long on Blue Blanket Street, and where in the hell's Blue Blanket Street at? And somebody realized that Blue Blanket Street's in Glenham, and so it's like, okay, this lat and long is along Blue Blanket Street somewhere in Glenham, but where is it? No physical address. And it appeared that the requesting party was on the administrative side of the census, and one of the technicians that was out performing the census duties, it's a requirement that they get an address. They pin the location, which gets them lat and long. They're required to provide an address with that. And it was physically in the middle of the trailer court, just down from the school there. And it's, you know, town of Glenham address is within, city of Mobridge address is within, municipal applications address within. So I have to go to them and say, provide me this address, and it's getting absolutely crazy. Is there a 911 commissioner appointed?
I'll pull it up. Continue talking. That's so North Central Regional 911, you're appointed as that, but that's different.
Davis, I'm here to inform you publicly, your life just got miserable.
Enjoy. It's the only thing to do with 911 and the board appointments, so.
I'm done. You got any questions? I'm gonna summarize my summary of the meeting with Penny. You are offering $15.40,
Whatever the minimum is.
1542.
$15.42. And other than that, it's my decision.
We approve two.
I'm done.
Anybody have anything?
Did you have a FEMA question or something? I think call it, yeah.
Are we gonna get FEMA money?
There's not a guarantee, no. There's never a guarantee. But I just got an update on the 29th, from the state that they're starting to get more employees hired and everything. They're starting to see progress and they're starting to knock some of these counties down.
Do you have all the paperwork pretty much done now, or?
So we're caught up all the way until this next step, and Karina and I are actually working on it because we actually have to put actual location down of each of these damaged areas on the road. So right now we're in the process of filling out the next, 'cause it's essentially the same thing that we've already done, but now it's in a different format, and it's on what's called Grant Portal, so that FEMA, no matter where they're at, or if a new person comes in or anything, they can actually just pick up that file. There's no backtracking and trying to find all the paperwork again and everything. It's just a centralized location. And so we're in the process of taking all the information that we've already done on the preliminaries and putting them onto this Grant Portal system and uploading it that way. So with that, after we get the initial call from FEMA to do our scoping meetings and actually get some FEMA people, boots on the ground here, we have a 60-day time frame before we'll actually have that deadline to get all of our information into this Grant Portal system so that they can actually proceed to do whatever they do on their end of it. So we are trying to stay ahead of the ball before all of a sudden that 60 days starts, because then we're on the time, so then no matter what happens, whatever we have in there, then we're done. And so we've started that process too, so we just don't get caught behind the 8 ball, so. But like I said, they did just do that notification on the 29th. We still have not been assigned a FEMA rep yet, and so until that happens, they will not be here or doing that scoping meeting until we actually get assigned.
With all the paperwork.
But we're all caught up with the paperwork, yep. We're exactly where we need to be as of right now, so. And we've added a few sites too that we identified after the fact, and it was no problem. So now we're up, instead of 58, I think we're at like 60 or 61 sites now too. So that'll all come out, but
Have you seen anything with regards to actual expenses per individual sites?
it's whatever the money or the estimates that have been submitted in from the preliminary damage assessments. But as far as actual, I know that Kareen's entering them in, as you're handing them in, as far as, the timesheets and that's how you're keeping track of them, but I have not seen those. Those are all, I think, down still in your office.
And just to make you aware that the only, what'd you say, 57 sites? To make you aware that I am totally confident of the expenses after my 3rd week of employment on 3 sites. Other than that, I've got no clue what was done, if anything was done, which makes us look incompetent.
I think a lot of the sites that were done, I think there was only a few that were actually done that were FEMA sites. I mean, there was other jobs being done, but they weren't actual FEMA sites. So I don't think we're off on those, because I don't think there was actually any work done up until you came in. So I don't think there's any unknowns. I think there was a few that we had to backtrack because maybe they hauled out a load of gravel, but there wasn't major work done on those sites. So I think you've done a good job getting it back caught up to where it needs to be, and then from that point on, it looks like you've been keeping track of all of that. So hopefully they're pretty accurate, but we had a little rough start to the disaster, so we're hoping, but we had to only meet a $20,000 threshold to essentially qualify. And when we drove around those 3 sites that we've seen, I mean, there's some sites that were underwater and they don't look like they have any damage to them now because it, you know, the water receded back and all that, so that it's kind of hard to see because you're not right in that moment right now. But off of the few sites that we've seen, we still met that $20,000 threshold for our county. So I think we're still okay.
I think as far as I knew, they were supposed to just keep track of if they hauled a load of gravel here and there. I mean,
I don't think, for me to sit publicly in this position, I don't think, the operations were even instructed where the FEMA sites were. Kind of ugly.
could be. Anything else for Gary? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to 19. I'll take a motion to go to executive session.
So moved.
Okay, you got a motion on the floor. Any discussion? You got a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Any new business? I've got one thing I want to put on the agenda for next meeting, to make a motion to talk about the relationship with the 4-H advisor with Walworth County and Campbell County. We discussed that in a motion, the connection between the two. Any other new business?
Hearing none, I move for adjournment.
We got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second that.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay, no, motion passed.